You are now watching Surveillance. Donate or subscribe for more sick twists.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my pre-raid and phase 1 BIS guide video. We're going to go over all the best items for pre-raid and phase 1 and a bunch of alternatives. Now I know I'm a little bit late, we're only a few days out from release, but we had some changes to the sim, we got some new data. We just really wanted to make sure that everything was super accurate and that we weren't going to have to make any corrections. Now I'm going to try to keep this video as short as I can. My BIS videos tend to go a little bit long, and we have many sets to cover today, so let's get into it. Now, one thing I should mention real quick before we start is that a lot of these slots and all of these sets have alternatives that are very close, and I might not have covered all of the alternatives because there are so many of them and I just can't get to all of them. So I try to cover some of the best alternatives, but there are other items out there. If you don't get the BIS items, just know that there's probably an item out there for you to cover that slot. So we have a ton of stuff to cover today. Without further ado, let's get started with our pre-raid BIS. Now for pre-raid BIS, we have two sets. One set is going to be our best in slot, and then the second set is going to be about 20 DPS lower, but you know, pretty close. Now the first set has outdated leg and shoulder enchants and stuff, so just ignore that for now. So for helm, we have the spiked Titan Steel helm. This is crafted by a blacksmith and it's bind on equip, so you don't have to be a blacksmith to wear it. It's the best helm and there's really nothing close, so everybody should craft this basically right away. For the next slot, we have Pendant of the Outcast Hero. This is from 25 Emblems of Heroism, and there's really just nothing that is close to it, so everybody should buy this. So shoulders are actually really interesting. We're going to be using the Pauldrons of Berserking from Sunwell Plateau in TBC. These are actually still pre-raid BIS. They hold up great, a lot of strength, 2 sockets, just great overall. Now if you don't have those Pauldrons of Berserking, then you have 3 options that are all about the same. They're all about 10 to 15 DPS worse than Berserking. You have Demon Tooth shoulder pads, which are from also Sunwell Plateau in TBC. You have Troll Woven Spalders, which are from Leatherworking, and you have Spalders of the Giant Lords, which is from Sons of Hodir Revered, and they're all about equal. And if you don't have any of those other 4 shoulders, then you can just stick with tier 6 until you get a pair. These are going to be about 35 DPS worse than Pauldrons of Berserking. They still have a lot of strength and 2 sockets, and the 4-piece bonus is worth about 20 DPS. Okay, so for chest, we have the tier 7 200 item level chest piece. This is really the only option. It's from Emblems of Heroism, I think 80. And the 2-set bonus is really good. 10% damage on Divine Storm is obviously really good. The 4-set bonus is less good, but it's still something. I think it adds like 30 or 40 DPS if you like adjust your prio with it. Now I believe you can also get this from Nax 10 and maybe save some emblems. Alright, so for bracers, we have Vengeance Bindings. These are crafted by blacksmithing, very easy to get. And we also have tier 6 bracers from Sunwell, a little bit worse, but still decent. Okay, so for glove slot, we have really just one option, and that's the tier 7 item level 200 gloves. The 2-set bonus can be really good here. This is from Emblems of Heroism, 60 of them, or you can get this from Sartharian 10. The 4-set bonus is also good, but it's not going to be BIS. And you're definitely going to want to put the hyperspeed accelerators on these gloves from engineering. It's not the only reason to be engineering, but it is one of them. And for belt, we have the Jorax Crocolisk skin belt. This is going to be 40 Emblems of Heroism. You can get this right away. Although if you have the Lightbringer girdle, the tier 6 belt from Sunwell Plateau, you might want to get this last because the belt is very close to the Crocolisk belt. Tier 6 belt just holds up really well. The stats are really good. So if you have this, you might want to hold off on buying the skin belt until you get some other items. Now on your belt, you're going to want a belt buckle, which will give you an extra gem socket, and you're going to want to put nitro boosts on. This will just help you go fast anytime you need to, from engineering. For cloak, we have Cloak of the Bloodied Waters, which is a BOE world drop. Now on this cloak, you're going to want to put the engineering enchant, the flex weave underlay. This kind of makes it a parachute cape. Since this is a world drop cape, it's easy to get, but you can also stick to the Kill Jaden cloak, which isn't that much worse, and still is okay. It's not great, but it's decent, especially with a better gem. And for legs, we have Staggering leg plates. These are from Utgard Cape Heroic, very, very easy to get, so there's really no reason to talk about any alternatives here. For boots, we have Neverending Path. These are going to be your best in slot. We have Death Inured Sabatons, which are from Ebon Blade Exalted. The leather boots are going to be just a bit better because of the very useful hit. And until you get one of these boots, you can stick with your tier 6 boots. As long as you can benefit from the expertise, these are still very good and pretty close. Have the rings ordered from best to worst. Now your best ring is the Ring of the Kirin Tor. It's 8,500 gold, so I understand if not everybody wants to buy it, and if you just want to wait until you get a raid ring. Mobius Band is going to be your second best ring. This is from Culling of Strat, and then your third best will be Scarlet Shadows from a Jewel Crafter. Okay, so here I have our trinkets listed from best to worst. Now your best trinket until about TOGC, I believe, is Darkmoon Card Greatness. This is a Darkmoon card deck that can be turned into the Darkmoon Fair. It's going to be very expensive to buy the deck. I'm expecting it to be 30, 50, 60k in the first week easily. And there's just really nothing that can compete with this. By the second and third Darkmoon Fair, I think that this is going to come down a bit in price because you can craft it. So hopefully a lot of us poor boys can get it then. And our second best trinket is going to be Mirror of Truth, which is from Emblems of Heroism. It's going to be 40 emblems. Very, very good trinket. Second best. And then our next best trinket, as far as I can tell, is the Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood. But it has hit rating, so you need to be able to benefit from all that hit rating. If you can't benefit from it, then it's going to be a lot worse. But this is a pretty solid trinket if you don't have Darkmoon Card Greatness, until you get a trinket from a raid. And unfortunately, at this point, none of the TBC trinkets are that good. Okay, so Librams don't really change much. We have this Libram of Furious Blows, which is Borean Tundra quest, and this is the direct upgrade to the Blood Furnace Heroic Libram that most people are using right now in TBC. And then we have our Libram of Divine Judgment, which is from TBC Badges of Justice, and this is going to be best when you're using Seal of Command and cleaving. You're going to use one of these two Librams depending on what seal you have until you get the Crusader Strike Libram from Arena, and we'll talk about that with our Phase 1 set. So the best weapon for most people is going to be the Colossal Skullclad Cleaver. This is from Loken in the Halls of Lightning. Then we also have the Titan Steel Destroyer, which is made from blacksmithing. Now this is going to be slightly worse unless you have a racial expertise bonus for a mace, like a dwarf or a human. But these two weapons are very, very, very close. Also, you do not need to be a blacksmith to use the Titan Steel Destroyer, and for both of these weapons, you're going to want to enchant them with Berserking. So there you have it. Two sets, 20 DPS apart. This one is slightly better, and then the one with the Titan Steel Destroyer and the Ring of Scarlet Shadows and the Death Inured Sabatons. This one is going to be 20 DPS worse. There is lots of alternatives that are very close, so you guys should have no trouble at all getting geared up in the 2 weeks before Nax. Okay, so for raid gear, we are going to have 3 different sets. There's going to be a 2-piece set that you see here. This is your Absolute Bis. Then we have a 4-piece set that you see here. This is going to be about 80 to 100 DPS worse. And then we also have another 2-piece set that is going to be about the same as the 4-piece set, 80 to 100 DPS worse, and a little bit easier to acquire. Alright, so for helms, the Obsidian Great Helm is going to be Bis. This is from Sartharian, 25. And then if you're not using this, your next best is going to be the Tier 7 Helm, 213 item level version from Kel'Thuzad 25. So here we have our 2 best necks. Now these are both from Eye of Eternity. Favor is from the 25-man version. It's from completing a quest after clearing it. and Pendant is from the 10-man version, and it's just slightly worse. For shoulders, there's only one option, and that's the tier 7 shoulders. The token for this item comes from Glyph and Lotheb. 25. Chest is also very simple. There's only one item you want, and it's tier 7 again. This token drops from 4 Horsemen and Glyph. 25, of course. So our best in slot cape is going to be Drape of the Deadly Foe. This is from Kel'Thuzad 25. And then our second best cape is going to be Hammerhead Sharkskin Cloak, which is from Emblems of Valor, and that'll be 25. Once again, you're going to want the Flex Weave Underlay from Engineering. Okay, so for bracers, we have Unrelenting Attack, which is from Gothic, and then we have Thrusting Bands, which is from Noth. Now the bracers, the plate ones on the left, are a little bit better than the leather ones. They're pretty close. Both are pretty good. So our best in slot for gloves is the Frosted Handguards from Malygos 25, and then we have the Crudely Discolored Battle Grips from Patchwork 25, and those will be second best, a little bit behind, but not too far behind the Malygos gloves. And of course, once again, you're going to want to put the Hyperspeed Accelerators from Engineering on your gloves. So for belt, we have Girdle of Chivalry. This is from Grobulus and Gluth 25. And then Belt of the Torture. This will be our second best. This is from Patchwork 25. And it's not too far behind either. So if you can't get your hands on the Girdle of Chivalry, definitely give it a check. And once again, you're going to want to put a belt buckle on this and a pair of Nitro boosts. Alright, so your leggings of the Honored are going to be Bis. These are from Sartharian 25, the same place you're going to get your Obsidian Great Helm and your Fury of the Five Flights trinket. The next best option is the Valorous Redemption Tier 7 legs. These are from Gluth and Thaddeus 25. And they're a good bit worse than the leggings of the Honored. They make up for it with the 4-set bonus, which can add back some of the damage you're losing. But it's just not enough to make them Bis, even if you design a prio specifically for it. Alright, so our best in slot boots are going to be Melancholy Sabatons. Now this is only because they have a higher item level than the next best boots, Sabatons of Sudden Reprisal, even though they have Arpen on them, which is not our best stat. The higher item level is everything, and really item level is just really what matters here, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But a lot of times the higher item level is just going to be better. The best in slot boots are from Malygos 25, and then the Sabatons of Sudden Reprisal are from Gluth and Anubricon 25. Consider the fact that the Melancholy boots are like really highly contested. Most Brett Pallies should just be pretty comfortable with the Sabatons of Sudden Reprisal. Best in slot ring is going to be Ruthlessness. Now this ring can drop from 5 different bosses in Nax 25. Now the next 2 rings are both good, and it's just going to depend on if you can use the hit or not. If you can use the hit, you're going to want to go with the Surge Needle ring. If you can't use the hit, then go with the Ring of Invincibility. Now the Surge Needle ring is from Malygos 25, and the Ring of Invincibility is from 25 Emblems of Valor. Okay, so once again for trinkets, we have Darkmoon Card Greatness, still going to stick with you until TOGC. Once again, this is crafted or can be bought on the auction house. You have to turn it in at the Darkmoon Fair. It's going to be pretty expensive for week 2, but a month after that with the second Darkmoon Fair, it should be a little bit down in price and then keep dropping in price from there on out. Fury of the Five Flights, this is your next best trinket. This is from Sartharian 25, and it's a highly contested item. And rightly so, because it's very good. Now unfortunately, there's just not many other good trinkets for us. Mirror of Truth is actually going to be our next best trinket if you don't have Darkmoon Card Greatness. This is once again from Emblems. And there's also a trinket from Nax 10 that is a little bit worse than Mirror of Truth, but maybe a little bit better under certain circumstances. And that's the Lotheb's Shadow AP trinket. So for Libram, there's pretty much only one good choice, and that's the PvP Libram. It's the Deadly Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude. It makes your Crusader Strike grant you attack power every single time. Now, we're not really sure if this is going to be rating requirement or not. It was 1930 on the beta, and then they reduced it manually to like 700, and now it seems like it's back to 1930, but apparently they had taken it totally off at one point, so we're just not sure at the moment what the rating requirement's going to be. Now, there are a few different versions of this. There's like a blue one. I'm not sure if those are actually available on launch, but if they are, then you can use those. They're just a little bit worse, and they probably won't have a rating requirement. Now, if you can't get this, then you're kind of stuck with the pre-raid bis librams until Old War 25, when you can get the Divine Storm one from Razor Scale. There is really only one good weapon for every race, and that is Betrayer of Humanity from Kel'Thuzad 25. Then your next best weapon should be the Jawbone. It has good stats, and it's slower than the other weapons. So once again, just a quick overview of the sets. We have the 2-piece Bis, absolute best in slot set. Then we have our 4-piece set. This is going to be behind by about 80 DPS, maybe a little bit easier to grab some of these items. And then we have our 2-piece alternative set, another set that's about 80 DPS behind, but really easy to obtain the items. Now, glyphs is actually a little bit complicated because we're still running a ton of data, and there's been some updates to the sim recently, so we had to throw out a bunch of data and start again. But basically, this would be my general advice to you, is to use the Seal of Vengeance glyph. You're going to use that all expansion, 10 expertise from Seal of Vengeance anytime it's up. Always going to use that. Always going to use the Glyph of Judgment, 10% damage on Judgment. Now, your third glyph is almost always going to be Consecrate or Exorcism. There's a chance there might be a use for Holy Wrath on like Nax Ramistrash for like overall parsing, but let's not get ahead of ourselves there. So Consecrate or Exorcism, which one's best just depends. That's just one thing that's going to depend on a lot of variables, and it's going to be different for a lot of people. My general advice would be to use Exorcism on demons and undead, and use Consecrate on everything else, but that's not always going to be the case. It's just something I found to generally be true in Phase 1 on the sim, but it's definitely not always true. It's just, there's a lot of variables, and it's hard to say which one's better. It's going to vary. It's going to be different for every boss fight and every person and their gear set, so that's just something I can't tell you, but it's going to be one of the two, and further data on that will be coming soon, I'm sure. So for professions, the first profession is engineering, which is just the best. For the glove enchant, the nitro boosts, the bombs, the sappers, the cape enchant, it's just too good. And then the next best profession is going to be jewel crafting, because you can get the better gems that give you like 34 strength apiece. You get 3 of them. After jewel crafting is blacksmithing, and I think it's behind by like 24 strength. But after you get epic gems come out, then blacksmithing gets pretty close to jewel crafting, and I think it's like 5 strength, so it's a lot closer at that point. Now, tailoring also isn't bad because of the cape enchant. I think it's more of a PvP oriented profession. This definitely will be decent in raid. So here we have an example graph of how valuable our stats are. You can see strength at the top with hit just a little bit worse, and then expertise if you go down a little bit. Then the next tier is crit and AP, and then below that you have haste, and then below that you have RPen. Now here's some example stat weights that I pulled off the sim for Phase 1. Now remember that these stat weights are going to be highly dynamic. Even a few pieces of gear can really vary them a lot. You should always rely on the sim more than these weights. They're gonna change a lot over time. It's just a ballpark for you to get an idea. So as you can see, strength is king, which means we're always going to want to gem strength. Now we do want to get hit cap usually, but we don't want to gem hit, and we don't want to use hit food because strength is more valuable than hit 1-for-1. Gemming hit will be a small DPS loss on average, but it may give you some consistency. Now we're expecting at some point in the future, as our DPS goes up, the value of hit will also go up, so at some point it may be better than strength. Probably won't ever gem expertise though. Okay, so our meta gem is chaotic. For the blue gem requirement, you'll use either enchanted tier, which counts as every color, or the sovereign strength and stamina opal. And then we're just going to want to stack as much strength as possible. Make sure you get your 3 gems if you're a jewel crafter. Basically putting red strength gems in everything unless there's a good socket bonus that we're going after. Now, orange gems can be valuable for going for socket bonuses, especially strength and hit rating is really good if you're under the hit cap. Otherwise, use inscribed, strength, and crit. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, item level is king in Wrath, so higher item level item is almost always going to be better than a lower item level item, even if it's like a leather item that has attack power instead of strength, or armor penetration instead of haste. It might still be better just because of its higher item level, and that's something you're going to see a lot in Wrath. So if you have like a wish list, or if you just tell your loot council like what items you want the most, you have some sort of like loot prio system, then it's actually like really easy to know what items to prioritize, because generally the higher item level items are the ones you're going to want the most. Anything that's item level 226 in our BIS list is going to be high prio item. The weapon, Betrayer of Humanity, that's going to be high prio. Fury of the Five Flights trinket, that'll be high prio. Any of the 226 items will be high prio. The cape, the boots probably, the Melancholy Sabatons, the leggings of the Honored, Obsidian Great Helm, the Frosted Adroit Handguards from Malygos. Those will be high prio. All the 226 ones are high prio. The 213 item level tier is good, but you might be able to get away with putting it a little bit lower in your prio because it's tier and you're going to get it eventually no matter what. Although it would be really good to get that 2-piece bonus early. My top 5 items would probably be Obsidian Great Helm, the Frosted Adroit Handguards from Malygos, Leggings of the Honored, Fury of the Five Flights, and Betrayer of Humanity. Fury of the Five Flights especially because if you don't have Darkmoon card greatness, there's not a lot of good trinkets out there for ret. And the rest of the items are just super stacked with stats. Now, once again, all of these sets are going to be in the description down below if you want to take a look. Now, if you want to learn more about Ret Paladin, I got plenty of stuff for you. First of all, on my channel, I have a Ret deep dive that I did recently with Terran, Sarth, and Crix. So in that live stream, we talk about basically everything on the deep dive guide. But if you don't want to watch the 3-hour live stream where we cover everything in depth, then you can just take a look at the deep dive guide yourself. That's also going to be in the description. And we've kind of built it out and beefed it up and really filled in all the details to kind of make it an FAQ of sorts. And this is going to be the foundation for the FAQ that we end up making in Light Club, which once again, that's going to also be in the description. Come check us out at Light Club. If you have any questions, go ahead and come and ask us, and we'll do our best to get back to you. And if there's any corrections for this video, if it ever comes out that there's new items that are BIS and something changed here or anything that I have in this video is no longer correct, I'll go ahead and update you guys in the comments. In the footnotes, what I like to do is pin a comment and use that as kind of like my footnotes, and I'll issue any corrections down there. So if there's any corrections, they'll be down in the comments in the pinned comment. Thank you guys for watching the video. I want to give a special shout out to Terran for doing most of the work simming all these different sets and helping me make this video by giving me all his data and information. So thanks again to Terran. And if you want to support the channel, you can subscribe or check out my Patreon below. I hope you guys all enjoy the first few weeks of the expansion. I'm really excited for Wrath launch. I know you guys are as well. So have fun, and I will see you next time.
This show was brought to you by Light Club, where monkeys go to church.